Hello, and welcome to this episode of the Record Players Podcast, objectively the best opinions in music. This week on the review crew, we're going to be looking at Call Me If You Get Lost, the latest release from Tyler, the Creator. Let's get into it. Damn. I was like, he's brought the production value up here, but no.
What?
God damn.
What? How dare you? Okay. Australia's worse off on the world stage by the fact this guy is on the Spotify charts, I tell you. It was going so well. I had such high hopes for you.
I'm going to pass over to Dennis. You're an engineer.
I felt the spirit. I wouldn't be surprised if I got this off someone off the street selling their CD for like £5. How do I stop it?
This is crazy.
So, this is the new release from Tyler, the Creator, and I'm excited personally to get some opinions from you guys because I know that we've all had some different feelings towards Tyler's previous projects. So, first of all, I'm going to go to Dennis. In a post-Igor world, how do you feel about Tyler's return to rapping?
I am ecstatic, as you can probably tell from my face.
Well,
Zero emotion.
For background, as far as I'm aware, you were the least hot on Igor of us three, right? I presume, Jack, you liked it like me, right?
Yeah,
I fucked with it a lot. Yeah.
I was just thoroughly disappointed. I was expecting a follow-up to Flower Boy. I was expecting bars, and I didn't get bars. Literally, I remember playing the track after track after track, just thinking, okay, yeah, this track is going to be the one. This is going to be the one where he brings out some bars.
New Magic Wand, right?
Is that off of Igor?
Yeah, it was like the one of 2 or 3 tracks where he was actually like spitting.
Also a line referenced on this album.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
But you're right. It was very little bars.
He did spit on a few. But overall, I did go back to it and listen to it again, and it is entertaining. I'm not mad at it. It's just that initial experience that I had, where I was expecting a follow-up to Flower Boy, which had some of the sickest from the first track forward, just some of the sickest bars in the game at the time. Just Tyler showing that he has chops, just showing that he's literally up there with the best. I think it's one of the albums that changed the game. You talk about Good Kid, Mad City changed the game. Yeah, I would say Flower Boy changed the game, raised the bar, as it were.
So, it did win, didn't it? Get Igor? It got a Grammy for best rap album or something.
Yeah.
The most entertaining thing about Igor for me, I didn't really listen to public ideas about it because I knew it would get such a polarizing reaction from people. But DJ Khaled released an album the same day. And when he didn't get the Grammy for it, there's a video of him in the back of proper fancy car just being like, I make music people can relate to, not all this mysterious shit.
Yeah.
So
That was not a good look.
No, but it warmed my heart to see that and to see his tears. It made me happy. Made me like Igor twice as much that I already did.
Play. It's not a bad album at all. But I think this is the successor to Flower Boy, Call Me If You Get Lost, because this is Tyler getting back to what he does best. Proving that not only can he spit bars, but he's literally one of the best in the game right now.
Definitely. He's definitely got a kind of early Kanye vibe about him, I think, and he has for ages, of that he can do the rapping, he can do the more lyrical delivery, he can do the beats, he's got his own style, it's him as soon as the track starts, he gets good features, he uses them well, all of the things 100%. That were great about early Kanye that launched him to where he is now, all of them are in Tyler. Yeah, and absolutely it comes back on this album, even though it may not have been as apparent for the mainstream in Igor and stuff like that. I did want to talk briefly about the features that he's got. So there's quite a few that they've used on this album. He's got obviously prominently DJ Drama, who is just a prolific DJ. He's done everything. They have worked together before. I think Tyler was on one track on one of DJ Drama's releases, but besides that, as far as I know, that's the only like released material between the two of them. But he's also got 42 Doug, Young Boy, Ty Dolla Sign, Lil Wayne, Tizo Touchdown, who I was not aware of before this, Domo Genesis, Brent Fayez, Fana Hughes, butchered those names, but that's fine. Daisy World, Lil Uzi Vert, and Pharrell, to name, just like name drop all the people he's got involved. So sometimes we speak about how artists end up pandering maybe a little to their features, or they lose a bit of themselves with the other influence coming into their track. What do you guys think about how he's used features on this album? Did that happen? Was that a problem?
No, I agree with what you said. One of the biggest pros of Tyler as like an artist is when he has features, he integrates them into the song so well, and they they're there to like play almost like a character, as opposed to, I'm just going to do a verse. So many artists you think, you've been put with this other artist via an algorithm so that we can sell more records. On Tyler's work, it's never that. At least on the later records, like the features he integrates so well, and just in ways that you don't expect. Like, I mean, even I'm just looking at like the track with like Little Uzi Vert and Pharrell. I'm not a Uzi Vert fan at all, but he killed it with his flow. He's got Pharrell rapping. It almost like that track. Was it Juggernaut? The name of that track? Yeah. Dude, that almost sounds like some like NERD type track. It's still got the Tyler feel, and it flows, but it's just so left field, and he gets the artist to kind of come out of their lane, I would say. In a really good way. The other stand.
No, go on.
Oh, I was going to say the other standout for me was, I mean, he's 3 for 3 now on being excellent on Tyler albums. Lil Wayne, probably the feature, at least the verse of the album feature wise. My God, this was like up there with like Smuckers, and I forgot the Flower Boy song, but that he was on, but absolutely killed it
with Lil Uzi Vert and Pharrell. I know they're both artists that have worked with DJ Drama before. So like, that's the link there between those artists. I thought they really kind of gelled. Obviously, I know Pharrell and Tyler have their own like kind of special relationship from fanboying essentially, and then getting on his level. Like like fair play to him. He idolized the guy. He got on or above his level, and like now they're just colleagues in a sense. But going back to the DJ Drama thing, it's not necessarily a feature, as you might call it, but it's a prominent feature of the album to have those ad-libs added in, to have that like the DJ scratches, the DJ drops every now and then. What did you guys think about that? Because it's definitely got it's a modern sound in terms of it sounds more like Flower Boy and like the new era of rap that Tyler's kind of at the front of at the moment, but it's harking back to those old mixtape type stuff that DJ Drama was dropping from the underground.
This has to be like this is going to be like the most polarizing aspect of the album for most people, right? Because it was for me. I enjoyed his presence on some of the heavier tracks like Corso, where it's just like a hard hitting beat, and Drama's ad-libs get you hyped. But for me, he was way overused, especially on using him on like the more mellow emotional tracks where I really want to get involved with the story. And Tyler's he's got his heart on his sleeve on certain tracks, and Drama's just ad-libbing over that. It just was not a good fit. And I would say it's probably my biggest overall criticism of the album, like having him on, what was it, like 75%?
It's on a lot. It's a lot, yeah.
What did you guys think?
Dennis, what do you think? Same idea, it's different?
I didn't really mind it. It kind of has been done before. Obviously it's been done before because
he's done it 145 times or whatever it is.
Gangsta Grillz mixtapes.
But Gangsta Grizzle. Yeah, that tag is sick.
It is.
Every time that came in, I got hyped.
Yeah. I didn't actually know where I heard it from, because all through my childhood, I've been hearing that, and it's one of those things. It just goes into the back of your mind,
Yeah.
And that's.
I think the last one for me, I heard it on Jid's album. I don't know if you guys can remember his last album. I think.
Oh, DiCaprio 2.
Yeah, I think he was all over that as well.
That's probably where I heard it from most recently. But
took you back.
Well, Tyler as well is like our age essentially, so he's almost like in our generation, and I see I think I see that reflected in this album, in like the features, and even in like
he's
the
paying
references.
homage.
Yeah. So obviously with the DJ drama homage to go back, but also for the second week in a row, there's a G Unit reference on an album. So on Corso, there's just a little phrase, just a little section where it goes into the "this is how we do" type flow. If you listen out for it, I can't.
Oh, with the game.
Yeah, the games. This is how we do. This is how we do. Yeah, I don't know the rest of the song.
Back in the club.
Yeah,
I definitely feel a lot of that as well, because in maybe an Instagram video or something that he released, that he's talking about the album kind of generally, not getting into specifics, but he talks mostly about DJ Drama and just rattles off like a list of 10 to 20 artists that are like pretty old school, that a lot of the younger people, especially listening to Tyler, might not have grown up with. But like you're saying, us being a little bit older, like Tyler himself, we grew up with that like older hip hop in the generation before us that they were still listening to. Yeah, and just it's wild seeing the scope of influence that Tyler has and recognizes DJ Drama for as well, post them getting together for this collaboration.
Well, while we're on the topic, what did you think, Jack? It was a good artistic choice to have him all over the album? Because like I said, that was a sticking point for me that I can't let go. What was your thoughts?
Didn't hate it because like I've listened to DiCaprio 2 a shit ton. I have to say it just didn't enter my brain at all.
But he was only on a couple. He was only on a handful. It wasn't
like that's over. Just not a feature I remember. But on this, it was quite nostalgic to go back to it. Like like Dennis was saying, like it tripped something in my brain, and I was like, yeah, like this is. I feel like I know this album already, even though it's pushing so much new ground, and it's probably because it harks back to Flower Boy as well. So it's like it's something from the genre's past, it's something from Tyler's past, and it's something that like I had a personal connection to growing up, and like with all of the Tyler stuff wrapped up in it, I did think it was slightly abrasive sometimes, but as an artistic choice to have it as a feature across the whole album, I wasn't mad at it, just like on that basis.
Yeah, it didn't like ruin the album. It was just to me it seemed a bit odd in certain places. But you do make an interesting point. One thing I wanted to mention based on your introductory thoughts, Dennis, was that like an album like Flower Boy, it felt like it was such a shift for him, or even like Cherry Bomb was a shift, Flower Boy was a shift, Eagle was a shift. He was always going to a new place, and I find this was the first album where I didn't necessarily feel like he was going somewhere new. It was like an amalgamation of like a lot of the good stuff he had learned up to that point. I heard so much Cherry Bomb, with like the roughness, the distortion. But then there's also, the jazziness of Flower Boy, or the, even like the funk soul with him like doing falsetto singing from Igor. It was like a combination of all those elements, as opposed to him doing something unexpected. I don't know if you guys agree.
Yeah, that's one of the other things that's sort of mind blowing about this album is that he produced the entire album. So it's credited to him as
good choice of
writing
words
and production. Say again.
Good choice of words.
Oh, you mean like produced instead of made the beats?
No. Bit of foreshadowing from the rating later.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, I get you.
We shall see.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with the production value being super high and drawing on all his influences. One of the main things that I took away from this album on that sort of area was how he uses the bass for melodic content now. So obviously like Igor was a very melodic, and the harmony often came from like melody and counter melody working together rather than having like a purely chordal structure like you might expect in something like hip hop. But here he's going back to that, like harmony is in chordal material. He's giving the bass line a lot more melodic movement to cope with that, and he's got the melodic hooks, the short kind of phrases that come back in that make it sound hip hoppy. But it really did feel like a development of all the things that he's been working up to this point, production wise. I almost want to say that one of the small things that hasn't progressed as much as I'd like is the content of lyrics. But I do want to ahead of starting that discussion say that I think lyrically he is still one of the best out there today by a long way. I enjoy listening to him rap. I think that there's a lot of interesting turns of phrase. I think there's a lot of fantastic little like digs to stuff that isn't surface level content that he does that's amazing. He references the DJ Khaled stuff, talking about how he took a little something like a little golden man home to put on his mum's shelf, and then the people are crying about it. Like the stuff like that, unless you know the history of that line and like you don't do the research, you're like, oh, cool, throwaway line or whatever. But knowing it, he never feels the need to explain himself, which I appreciate as well. It's like he says it, if you want to know, go find out about it. But there's a lot of lines about cars and houses and boats and how much money mixed in with the like relationship stuff and the really personal lyrics and the like growing up stuff.
That was
like,
kind of a thing, a huge recurring theme on Flower Boy, right? Because he'd always talk about like, oh, my McLarens, but obviously it would be the front.
And he's always got that self-awareness about it, like especially now. There's a line where it's like I think it might be directly after that one I've just spoken about where he won the Grammy, and he says he bought another car because he doesn't know how to celebrate. And like he's got that, like he knows that even though he's got these vast expanses now because of the money he's making, he's aware of how limiting that is as well, and he's reflecting it artistically. So it's like it's such a good delivery of something, but I feel like there's more that he can access. I just don't know how he could get that, but like I'm stuck.
On the car side, though, I would like to give you just a different perspective because I'm a car guy, and I think Tyler's a car guy as well. Like, I know for a fact that he's bought himself a McLaren 650S, and he talks about it all the time. He talked about it as well in Flower Boy. Yeah. And as a car guy that's into it, yeah, that like resonates with me. That particular line that you're on about, bought another car because I know how to celebrate. That big boy, that big bitch for all weather. It never rained in Cali, came with an umbrella. See, that actually speaks to me because he's talking about a Rolls Royce, and all Rolls Royces, because they're designed and built in England, they come with an umbrella in the door. So that's something that makes sense to a car guy.
Right.
That's such a sick line for a car guy.
Right. Yeah. A very niche reference for people that share that interest.
Yeah. Thought that particular line, I enjoyed that because it's like, yeah, Tyler's a car guy, I'm a car guy, resonates.
That's why I feel kind of like it's I feel like unless he does something really left field like Igor, the only criticisms I could ever put on him at this point in his career, because he's so refined with what he does, is little nitpicks like that. So like by no means am I putting him down on a lyricism level. But yeah, it is probably stuff like that where like I'm not in the same sphere to relate to what they are, so they become the missed lines that I was speaking about earlier.
But on your point, on the evolution of his content in general, I mean, early Tyler is sort of, I think it's characterized as this sort of like angsty teenager, really. Sort of that mid-range, middle of that mid-Tyler period where it's like Cherry Bomb going to Flower Boy. I would say he's sort of maturing more out of that. He's like finding his own voice a little bit more.
And he kind of talks on that, the one track, one of the standouts for me on Massa, that chronicles that change very well. I thought lyrically, because you brought it up, that was one of the more interesting ones.
Yeah,
as it gives that backstory and it's really upfront about what he was going through or how he was feeling as he was like blowing up.
Yeah, Massa, he talks about, I think he has a line where he says like, my passport is my most cherished possession or something like that.
Yeah.
Sort of like he's basically saying like, well, it sounds like he's saying he's a well-traveled, say again?
Yeah, just echoing that he has the lyrics about like getting out of his bubble, leaving LA.
Exactly.
And through that, maturing and evolving.
Yeah, exactly. So he's no longer that angsty kid anymore. Now he's a world-traveled like business owner. He even has a line, I think, in Lumberjack, like, I own all my shit, said no to all the loans, something like that. Man, so many bars, so many bars on this album.
That's another line about something. It's completely just left my head as I went to speak about it. Then I opened my mouth and it fell out. Damn. Oh. No, it's gone. It's gone.
Was it about the what did I just say?
Off that track.
Literally that line and like the 2 bar that follows it. But I'll do some research. But I'll start you guys talking about something while I do. Thinking about how he's like progressed as an artist and all this good stuff that we're talking about. A couple of opportunities for his kind of lyricism to shine and his kind of artistic progression to come through the longer tracks on the album. So most of them fit like kind of short to regular pop song length, around 3.5 minutes generally. Few outliers, but yeah, generally in that area. And there's a couple that are 9-10 minutes long. Yeah. So I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on those two. So yeah, Wilshire and
Sweet, I Thought You Wanted to Dance.
Sweet, I Wanted You to Dance. Yeah, so what are you guys' thoughts on those 2 tracks specifically?
That particular track, Sweet, I Thought You Wanted to Dance, that's one of my top 3. I love tracks that split in half like that. First of all, I'm not shy.
I think he does that on every album.
He might do.
He does it a lot,
it was as a split track.
I'm more familiar with Tyler doing that. Like Sing About Me. That's one which is super long and it splits halfway through.
Yeah.
I love those types of tracks. I love when a track switches up on you. And Sweet, I Thought You Wanted to Dance. One of the reasons why I love that so much is because it switches into like a reggae type feel, which I thought it works so well with the content. It's literally as if you're transported somewhere else. Transported right to the island for a minute.
Straight into Jamaica,
yeah.
What about Wilshire then? Because that's more of the something that I always love from rappers. I always go back to Andre 3000 because they have a song about it and they're like the kings of it. But that storytelling, that opening yourself up, getting some personal stuff out there in a way that's relatable and progresses over the course of the track. Wilshire knocks out of the park. I've been a bit critical in the last few weeks about artists who it feels like they don't have enough content to fill the length of their tracks. Tyler never fitted in that category, and especially on Wilshire, I think. So yeah, what are your guys' thoughts on that track?
Yeah, I agree. I thought Wilshire was potentially like the biggest standout contender lyrically. Just because, it strayed away. I mean, on a lot of other tracks, he's talking about the duality in terms of, in some ways he's kind of like bragging, but then in other ways he's like opening up. And on this track, it was just, like you said, a straight storytelling, like a tragic, story of the love triangle. And I love that, he's an intelligent storyteller on a track like that because he shares everyone's perspective. He's not just rapping from his point of view. He's talking about, how that girl's feeling, how her, boyfriend's feeling, and then the impact that each decision has on each other. So I thought it was really built up, and I was gripped listening to that, going through Genius the first time.
Yeah,
that's definitely a standout Wilshire. The other track I liked, but I'm not really a big reggae fan. So that second half, I was like, musically, contrary to you, Dennis. But yeah, Wilshire,
interesting. 100%. Yeah,
definitely justified its length.
It was slightly different. I mean, Sweet is more that Tyler sound, but yeah, I Thought You Wanted to Dance was
But yeah, I love that. Yeah, that first half, and Brent Fires. I think he was the feature on that track. He's a great singer in general, so
Yeah,
it was cool to him and Tyler like harmonizing or doing a duet on that was really cool.
Just before I'm gonna come to you guys, I was looking at some other stuff while you guys were talking about it, but I wanted to point out the with the Lil Wayne verse. I don't know what Tyler does, but
yeah,
in my mind, Lil Wayne is like still the Lil Wayne of the 2000s era. Yeah, and I just like I still never expect him to rap like this. I don't know why.
Insane.
But like I still don't expect him to be this inclusive of who he's working with. To like work in the material, the concept of the song, or the general themes of the album even. Like I'm just expecting what he did with the other like southern rappers coming out in the early noughties. But yeah, every time he's out, he knocks it away. And like I'm still expecting that lean rap, and then I get something even slightly woke, and I'm like, God, yes.
Yeah, no, Lil Wayne's been smashing it lately. Like he was on the DMX album, and I thought he killed that verse as well.
Yeah, he did kill that. Yeah,
on Dogs Out. And yeah, I always thought Lil Wayne was a hack, to be honest, because I watched one documentary that ruined it. It was a documentary that basically portrayed him as if he would go into the studio and he would just free flow verses for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours on drank, and then he would later on basically cut that into an album. Right. And I was like, this is bullshit. This isn't spitting bars. So that made me discount Lil Wayne completely. But seeing what he's been doing, yeah, you can't spit verses like he's been spitting lately on the tracks that he's been on just randomly. No, it's impressive.
I love the line he had. What was it? Where he goes, "Thought all this lean will have me see now. I guess they see now." I mean, it goes on from there, but just like the multi-syllabicism in that verse is crazy, along with the flow switch up as the music drops out. It's just perfect.
It's weird seeing how Lil Wayne has kind of progressed and developed as an artist alongside Tyler, even though he started about 10 years before.
Yeah.
Okay. Any final thoughts from you guys? Anything you're desperate to get off your chest before we go into ranking this album?
Only thing that was interesting. It's not even a big point, but just because I haven't really touched on the music, the reoccurring elements of, again, the flute. I always love a flute, and that was drenched over this album almost as much as DJ Drama was, and there was so much like bossa nova, like guitar led breaks that just had such a summery vibe. It was fucking sick. Like, yeah, it kind of felt, even though the album was like an amalgam, for me it was an amalgamation of, you know, his previous 3 or 4 albums almost like combined in one, that musical core with those recurring elements, you know, those instruments and even some of the samples did well to tie it together, even though it was all over the place in other aspects.
Yeah, I'd agree. All right.
I would say, final thought, this has raised the bar, and I think all the other artists out there should be looking at this. I think Kendrick should be looking at this. You know, Kanye, all the sort of artist producers, like, it must have taken I can't imagine the amount of work it took to put this project together. But I think it's very impressive.
Gangsta Brazil.
Okay. Let's rate it.
Are we doing tracks?
Oh yeah, shit. Do your top tracks. Start with Hattie.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. You want me to go? Yeah, cool. Top tracks for me, I'm going to say, Hot Wind Blows with Lil Wayne. I don't need to say anything else. That was probably, even though I liked the album, you know, the start of the album, that was the first track where I was like, oh wow, this, you know, the first track I was like, oh shit, what am I in for? Second track I really liked was Massa. Again, touched on that. Loved the lyrics, the lyrical content of that track, and it was, I appreciated the beat on that one was very stripped back, to allow Tyler, what Tyler was saying to come through. And then third favorite or third track I would put on the list, probably Wiltshire, again, just because of the lyrical content that kept me coming back.
Yeah,
that's my three.
Solid choices. Dennis?
I will start off with Massa as well. That would be my top track. Lyrical content, thank you, was great. Second track, Sweet, I Thought You Wanted to Dance. Yeah, love the switch up, love a long track. But I would say Wiltshire didn't really stick out in my mind, probably because it was towards the tail end of the album. If I had more time to sit with the album, I would have probably paid more attention to Wiltshire, so that would be on it. So it hasn't made it to my top three.
That's definitely one to go back to.
Definitely one to go back to.
Yeah.
And number three is What's Your Name, because it's a little bit lighter. It's I love it. It's like that R&B sound, probably because we're listening to her this week as well. But that is a tune.
Speaking of Ty Dolla $ign as well, another feature in the bag.
Yeah,
another feature he kills as well.
Yeah,
because I like that's one I share with you, Dennis. Mostly off those D'Angelo, Ty Dolla, like beautiful harmony, multi textured lines of melody running underneath everything else. Just was a powerhouse of how to use a vocalist in a hip hop scenario. And I know as well from some stuff I've heard from Jacob Collier how Ty Dolla $ign will often get requests to do something or agree to do something with an artist, get sent the idea, and he'll send back 15 different versions of how they could do it, and then they listen to it and they pick their best. I absolutely could see that happening with him sending 15 versions of it and Tyler being like, well, fuck, I'm going to use all of them. Just layering them up, because that's exactly what happens. I think it's such a sick end result.
That's really interesting. I never knew that was his approach, but makes sense, because that shit's always so layered and sounds so crafted, meticulously crafted, which makes sense if someone's got the pick of the litter of a dozen variations.
He's it's so weird. He from what it seems like he works so hard to get such little recognition for the work that he does. But he just obviously he's a name that people know, but the amount of work that he does and the amount of stuff he turns up on, he should be top 40 Billboard every week. Yeah. Anyway, I'll stop fanboying now. That was your third one, wasn't it, Dennis?
Yeah. What's Your Name?
I share Wiltshire. I think that's just a fantastic track. We've gone over a little bit. I love the storytelling. I love the longer length. I was a little lukewarm on the kind of reggae stuff with the other track as well. So the extended one that went to different areas but not deviated too much, I liked. And my last one, Massa. It's just a banger. There's nothing more to be said. It's just a top-notch fucking track, especially considering the vibes of Tyler and the vibes of the track. It's a perfect little ecology for that. Okay. Ratings. I feel like Dennis is going to throw some spanners in the works. I'm going to start with Hattie.
Okay. I mean, the one thing I would preface this by saying is Tyler's probably in a handful of eyes where I can't give a done deal rating in such a short amount of time, being that this album's only been out for a few days. So we might have to revisit this in the future and then discuss, because I'm sure it will change where I'm going to put this. But I really like this, but I wouldn't say it reached the heights of something like Flower Boy for me. Pretty much all of the elements were enjoyable, but things like primarily it was just the prominence of DJ Drama that pulled it back a bit for me, and at least on the previous two albums, Igor and Flower Boy, I think I preferred the cohesion of those albums versus the kind of everything in a bucket of this. But I say that only to say that this is a fire, not a mind blow. So I still fucked with it a lot, but I can't put it on that top tier that I think potentially you guys might. He's done better albums, but this would be his third best after the two I've just mentioned.
It's third best.
I would probably put it third best if we were to do another tier.
That's wild. Well, I was wrong. Okay, it came the hot take came from Hattie instead. Dennis,
it's a fire. It's a fire.
that's a fucking hot take for this album. I don't give a fuck at this point. That's a hot take. What are you saying, Dennis?
All right, I'm gonna follow Hattie's lead and completely cop out and say
you guys are crazy. There is no way Brockhampton is a better album than this.
Well,
there is no universe where Brockhampton is a better album than this.
For exactly the same reasons as Hattie, though, because I want to put this on Mind Blown, but I just haven't sat down with the album for long enough in such a short period of time to be able to put it on Mind Blown.
Yeah, exactly. It might become a Mind Blown. Look, let me say this quick. Sorry, Dennis. When I first heard Flower Boy, right, I was like, this is an above average album. First listen, it went on to become one of my favorite albums of the past decade. When I heard Igor, I had Dennis's thing of, I wanted a sequel and I didn't get it. And I went on to love it. So this is not set in stone. This is just how I'm feeling right now. Sorry, Dennis.
Yeah. And I would say it's kind of back to your argument on the WhatsApp about artistic integrity, about an artist putting out like a body of work like this and having it being judged. You had mentioned it through the long discussion that we had, but yeah, I think we owe it to Tyler to sit down and properly listen to it. I think just giving us
but you
2
think
days.
You're like, why not put it in Mind Blown then? Because what you're saying is, I think in the future I'll like it more. Like, do you foresee a future where you like it less?
Potentially,
yes.
Potentially,
yeah, I agree. Potentially, I could go sour on it.
If I noticed some element that I think he may have fallen short, if I noticed some element where I'm like, maybe that was a little bit of a lazy decision, I don't know. I haven't had time to properly sink my teeth into it and really get into the tracks. So I want to put it on Mind Blown, but I think it would be jumping the gun a little bit.
I'm with you. It could go either way. Right now, I feel that's a fair.
You think but you're saying either way, and you're putting it on fire. So you think potentially this could become a backpat album.
It's very unlikely.
You guys are smoking so much crack. I don't even have the words for this.
It's very unlikely.
There's the potential. The only potential other album in fire that competes with this is the KGLW stuff. Yeah? And that's like a potential thing. And I think that that's the top of fire because I hadn't heard the microtonal stuff from them before. I loved it pairing with the rock. I know Tyler really well, and I still think this is above that. It's as original as that, but with elements that I've heard before. Listening to Brockhampton, that was an album that we all had a couple of gripes with. We thought it was really good quality, but it's also not the best that Brockhampton have released. I think that was generally what we were thinking. So, talking about other Tyler releases, it might not be the best Tyler album, but in relation to what else is here,
say. Yeah,
this has to be up there.
But that's what I was going to say. Is this album on par for you, on par with Flower Boy?
I think it's close. I would put it at least second. I prefer this to Igor.
Okay.
But I prefer this style of his music to Igor anyway.
So this is currently your second favorite album of his. That's what you're saying. I can't remember what you did for your tier list.
Probably. I feel like Bastard is up there as well. I think when we did the rankings, I had Bastard and Flower Boy up there. But yeah, man, you guys have completely just thrown me for a loop. I was expecting positivity. Especially
That is
from
positive.
I
It's a fire.
really fucking enjoyed it.
but like the reasons that you given about like his previous releases and stuff. That's always what we're excluding from these lists.
No,
I'm going to put it in
I-
fire. I'm going to put it in fire because
not
that's
for
the
me.
it's
I
the
can see what
consensus.
you're saying with the
But, like-
with the relation to Brockhampton. I can see what you're saying in that album. That compare that to Saturation 1, Saturation 2. That there's some those were potentially better projects, and yet we put it as mind blown. Whereas, yeah, you look at Call Me If You Get Lost. Even you yourself said this is right up there in terms of Tyler's body of work. So, following that logic, this should be.
And Tyler has a
blown.
better body of work than Brockhampton does.
Well, I haven't sat down with Brockhampton's work as much as you guys have.
Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah,
Yeah,
they're not
they're
miles
not
apart.
worlds apart.
Yeah.
But-
yeah. He's probably got the edge. Yeah, I agree.
I'm gonna put it in fire, and I'm gonna
Cheeky asterisk.
I'm gonna note my saltiness, and I'm gonna bookmark my told you so's
Okay.
for when you guys come around. And if you don't, I'm gonna contact your crack dealer and get him to cut you off because you guys are too deep in the sauce.
But the Brockhampton one's tricky because looking at everything so far, or at the time when we did Brockhampton, it was probably my favorite album of everything we've reviewed, which probably influenced me to put it up there.
This
But it's
is
not a
the best
perfect
album of the year so far that we've reviewed, without a doubt.
When did we do
Looking at
Brockhampton? Was Brockhampton
I think it was this year, yeah.
March-ish?
Yeah. I would say it's very close to Brockhampton for me.
But Brockhampton was so inconsistent compared to this.
I like hip hop groups, so that sways me more towards Brockhampton than it does towards Tyler.
Yeah, I prefer Tyler as an artist, but I think probably they probably had a slightly better album. I'm going to stick with my opinion.
You guys are absolute mongrels right now.
Why are you acting like we gave the man a ribbon?
Because you're saying potentially in the future there's scope for you to like this album less than a Fire album.
Maybe a low fire.
Like unless you go back and you find a hidden message in what DJ Drama's saying that's specifically calling everybody called Hattie a bitch. Like, there's no way that you go back and you're like, oh, actually, it's so jarring. I now dislike this entire body of work because of that one element.
I look, in reality, yes. I really doubt that it will go below Fire. It would swivel between the low Fire and the high Fire. There's a small chance it might go into Mind Blown, but in general, it's falling within that Fire window.
I'm fucking salty.
It's really good. It's really good. And I'm sure as I listen more, I will like it more. But that's how I feel. I'm surprised, Dennis, you didn't give it Mind Blown because you were seeming like unanimously positive.
I couldn't disappoint. I had to switch it up at the last minute there. So
Yeah, that is a you thing, yeah. To be fair.
I was wrong with my prediction twice. You both gave me spanners in the works. Right, I'm going to end it there before my head explodes from just the amount of pure bullshittery coming out of you two. If you disagree with Hattie and Dennis, let us know in the comments. Tell us your opinion if it's that it should be Mind Blown. And if you want to come and watch the next review, catch the shorter review for the bridge that we'll be doing for the Her album in the middle of the week. Hit subscribe, do the notification things, do the likes, dislikes, all that good stuff. We'll see you next time. Peace.
Peace.